It's okay. How's your morning been?
Oh, general life stuff. So
Yeah.
started work at about 8 in the morning. I've already talked to um, our insurance person, getting a new COI, which is a certificate of insurance for a new job. Talked to our management crew about 3 or 4 different jobs that we're running, and um, it's spring break, so hopefully you won't see any small ish people wandering around in the background, but it's a possibility. So I'm working from home. Just a
Yeah.
typical day.
Typical. Yeah. Juggling, but it sounds to me, and this is where I was trying to think of how to say why I'm really excited about this conversation, particularly because one, you are not only a whole person leading a business, we are all whole people, but that you live into your all the parts of
Yeah,
you
yeah,
and you're committed, fully committed to all the parts, all the hats. And I think that's no small challenge. It's the kind of business that I always hope to lead people to, where we can bring all of ourselves
yeah.
as we are. So that's exciting. And I just realized I was thinking I've had a number of newer businesses, like first few years
hmm
on here, but actually you're one of the veterans. Like how many years in business now?
We will be 20 years uh, next. That's 20 years of Nzilani glass conservation. But before all of that, I was doing the same thing. I just hadn't established myself as a business.
Yes.
So about 30 years long.
Wow. Yes. So not only long time, but also that you have a team uh, built out
Yeah,
such that you are leading from home. Um, you're managing the team
yeah,
primarily,
yeah,
right? And the big picture of the business and
yeah,
not the person also on the ground doing the
yeah.
everyday.
All Um, and yes, I feel so incredibly grateful that, yes, I'm leading the team, but I am also that you know, besides the technical difficulties and the allusion to the tornado, that, you see me, I'm pretty calm
Yeah.
because Lonnie has such a great people who have chosen to work and honor my vision by working for the company. So day in
Yeah.
and day out, there we're all working together to provide vision of conserving and preserving stained glass and also making new pieces. And the only way that works and the only way I work is having a great group of people.
Yes. Great. So thank you for, I'm sorry, I forgot to say, tell us what you do. What's the mission of
Right.
Ceylani?
Right. So our mission statement is be safe, have fun, do excellent work. And we are a design, build, preserve company based mainly in West Oakland, although we serve the nation that we do. And we started off as a stained glass conservation company, but have grown over the course of 20 years to really have a larger vision of what we do and why we do it. So we preserve stained glass in historic buildings, churches, government buildings, but also people's homes. And when we're talking about sacred spaces, it's not just tied to a religion. Your home is a sacred space. That's something we've really found more so, unfortunately or fortunately, in the last couple of years, where people have been in their homes more. And I always talk to the team about when you're going into a sacred space, be it conventional sacred space or someone's home, that stained glass or that architectural glass that we fabricate or preserve um, adds another level of of calm and veneration, excitement, something that's really particular to that space. So we honor that by preserving it or augmenting it or putting in something that's new. So that's our core business, but also I'm really, really passionate. It's something that I've always done, but I'm articulating it a little bit more and setting the intention of both the people who work for Nzilani and the people who Nzilani serves, um, spreading a wider net of the projects that people who.
Yes, thank you. I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Oh
In
no,
and out. Yeah, it's fading in and out for me. I don't know how it is for others. How's the audio on your side, friends who are in the room? Um, Give us some feedback. I don't know if there's a better signal place or anything like that, but
oh, um,
if it's easy,
it should be
it should
fine.
be good.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but I'm gonna check
Well,
while you're asking questions. I may cut out and come back. I hear you clearly, so that's weird.
okay.
Um,
Okay.
if I lose you
Mm,
back,
yes, yes. Same. Sorry, friends. Hang in with us.
am I still
Hello,
here?
people. Yes, you're here. I hear you.
Is this any better?
I hear you right now. It was
Okay,
just like certain bits cutting in and out.
okay. I'll just sit closer and tell me if you can.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Um, so thank you. I just love hearing about how you're committed to your team and your clients to add to the sacred space of
Hmm.
their experience, right? This is where I love to have businesses, entrepreneurs that are really conscious of the impact they have on their people and their community. So
Yeah,
thank you for bringing that. And one aspect I know is really important to you that I see as um, one way that we can be good bosses is the safety aspects that you're
right.
really into promoting for the world, actually, right? For your spaces, your peers, just the industry, not
Yeah,
just under your own building umbrella.
right. Um, yeah, we say that our safety comes first, literally, in that motto of be safe, have fun, do excellent work. I'll repeat it again just in case it was quiet before. And also, um, I I think many times artists are in the past, especially there's this false bravado um, where especially in the stained glass industry, because we deal primarily with lead and glass, that people are somewhat proud of having high lead levels because it means they've worked more or they've been in the industry longer. And I'm really trying to change the narrative on that. And you should say, I've worked for a really long time and I have really low lead levels because it
Yes,
means, first of all, you're respecting yourself, right?
yes,
Taking care of yourself. And second of all, if you're hiring someone who has a low lead level, that means they're going to respect your space and they're going to be a better worker because once you start having higher lead levels, um, it affects your cognitive ability, it affects your physical ability, and it means that you're not going to be careful where you're going into a space. So again, thinking about going into a large place that is, if we're working for a government location, there are all these regulations that are set in place um, to make sure that you have all your insurance coverage and everyone is trained in lead safety, and you're putting the proper PPEs. We all know what that is now, the personal
mhm,
protective equipment. But also, we also do a lot of work for churches, and churches are communities, right? And they often
mhm,
have youth children and schools that are attached. So if we're working on windows and our action of taking a window out that's old is dispelling all this lead dust everywhere, we want to make sure that that's contained. So those children who are more highly affected by it than adults are protected. Um, Likewise, when we're working in someone's home. And so for many years, that's something that I did for myself and for the people who worked at Nzilani. But now I'm trying to lead by example, by sharing the experiences we've had. And it's not something that happens overnight. And I really want to convey to people that even if you're a one-stop, shop, you're doing it as a hobby or you're growing your business larger, it doesn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight with us. And I feel like we're still on the journey of making ourselves safer every day. We're thinking about how can we make things better. And it isn't a all or nothing. It's something where you can continue to work towards it. But it is to keep in mind. I think what I found doing this long enough is that there's this newer generation of people, regardless of how they identify themselves outside of being an artist, that they want to take care of themselves and they want to take care of the environment. And so there's this shift where safety is something that isn't put to the side, it's incorporated into their work.
Right. That's great. Yeah, that I bet the world is coming around so that when you give your message, there's not as much friction.
Yeah.
Right. There's not as much like, I don't know what you're talking about. But as you were talking about it, I was thinking about in my world, a client might say, I'd love to do that, but it's too expensive. It's just not realistic.
Yeah.
It's not possible. Right. In that sense, like it's not possible.
Yeah.
And I love that what you're saying is, everyone, this is what's possible, right? And like not all or nothing, but look at what we've done. And look what I think from what, I said in my post about you that you toured me around your studio and you really explained like, this is how it happens.
Right.
And this is how we know. And I just thought like, you have built this system and you're iterating it constantly, and you're going to lead people into what's possible.
Yeah, and I think the first thing that you can do, which is totally free, is just thinking about it.
Yes.
Like that costs absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Having it on your radar is a really great thing. We also say I have this hokey thing, but maybe it helps people remember. It's like 3 for free. So wash your hands after you do an action. Don't eat where you work, and have a dedicated set of work shoes where you change your shoes so you're not tracking your work into your other environment. And again, those are very low cost things you can do that instantly change and improve your health and safety. And from there, you can just incrementally go up.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and this is called Mindset Monday because I find that there's like the outside action and then the inside action that gets you to those things, right? So below the 3 for free is, partly something brings them to listen to you. Like, wait, maybe I do need to learn something here, or maybe there is something that's possible here. But even before that, to choose that is to say, I am worth protecting.
Yep.
My blood is worth protecting, right? And you said false bravado, and I just love that phrase because I think it's so evocative of the way that our culture has told us throwing self-care to the side is valuable, right? Like that's what I hear when I hear false bravado.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't need that. Why would you even toss that aside?
Yeah.
It's the only you have. Am I right? Lead levels blood, right?
Yeah.
This is my blood.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the core. It's literally what keeps you pumping, what keeps you going. And I think, a lot of times, way back in the day, there was also this disconnect. So if you really want to start diving deep, right, there's two different things that are held there. First of all, artists in general are kind of put to the side um, in communities often, and there's this phrase that I think people already or know that's sort of woven into our culture, like artists suffer for their art and the art gets better.
Yes.
Suffer, right?
Yes.
You should not have to suffer for your art.
No.
We could probably spend a whole other hour on like monetary suffering
Yes.
for your art. Everyone should be paid for the work that they do. Um,
Amen.
and but also physically, suffer. It's something that you have to do. And then if you start to bring in, obviously it's less binary now, but it traditionally, um, all of the initial classes that we've done, we meaning the Nzilani team have done for lead safeties to make us all certified lead workers, they'll have these things like, having high blood lead levels is really bad for kids. You don't want to take it back home for your children. Um,
Mm.
and it affects pregnancy, right? So if our profession in general tends to be male, what those two statements say, first of all, you only have to have a heterosexual relationship
Yes.
or
Right.
a dude bringing home your dirty work home to your family. No. What if it's your partner? Who cares what gender they are? You want to make
Yep.
sure you're not bringing that home. And secondly, it's only for pregnant women. What about
Yes.
women who care about their health who don't ever want to carry
Yeah. Yeah.
care?
Gender rising and age and pregnancy status being the reasons for
Right,
they can't handle the bravado or
right.
whatever.
It puts it to the side. And so the first couple of years I took this, I just thought about it. We have an amazing teacher right now that we always request for our lead safety courses because though he is, or in spite of being an old white male, self-described, he's very
Hmm.
these conversations. I'll say, excuse me, have you noticed when you rewrite these tests, can you rewrite them so it's more inclusive? And he's like, oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, I'm going to tell my boss we're going to rewrite this. And then the
Yeah.
second thing that I have when I've started to go to conferences, when I have these discussions with people with false bravado. Often it's a guy who's been in the industry for 20, 30, 40 years. My lead levels are fine, and then they quote a number that's way higher than should be acceptable for anyone, especially for themselves.
Right.
And I say, well, I'm so, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you just told me you've lowered your sexual drive and your sperm, and then
Yes.
and then there's and then and it's kind of abrasive sometimes, but I find that you almost have to meet fire with fire, and like I said, there's other people where they're very interested and I don't have to get up in their face, but um I'm tired being quiet. I've been around,
Mm.
and so um, you need to meet someone on their level, and sometimes it's not quiet, it's not demure, and that's fine.
No, it's fine because everyone else in the room just received that impact,
Exactly.
right? They
Exactly.
even maybe hadn't thought of it at all, or
Hmm.
maybe they were like, something's tickling my brain to say this is not
Right.
right. And
Yeah.
you put your finger on it and then you said it out loud.
Yeah.
And that is the thing of being a leader. That
Hmm.
is fucking scary sometimes and so powerful, right? I bet there are people after you said things like that that maybe you were, I don't know how you're feeling about it now. Maybe you have no qualms about it now, but
Right.
maybe in the beginning you're like, oh, was that okay? But
Yeah.
then people come up to you, right, and say, thank you for saying that. And that's
Yeah.
all you need,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what happened. The first time I was sort of like, ooh, you get the heightened heart rate, like
Yeah.
maybe I overstepped. And the first time I did that, I was at a conference and it wasn't, I also, again, thinking about the safety, you don't want to embarrass people. You don't want to call people out because they're not going to take the information in. But it was during a
Right.
discussion afterwards. And then I had five people kind of like, it was almost like pulling me into a corner, like, thank you for saying that. I felt really uncomfortable as a
Hmm.
person who identifies as male, but um, I couldn't say what I wanted to say, and you used my words. Thank you so much. And I don't think it's going to change the culture overnight, but the more people who say it, you know, unfortunately, we're going to outlive those people eventually.
Yes.
Uh,
Mm.
we're going to be longer to do the work that we all love. So shouldn't we all improve on our health and safety? It shouldn't be a bad word to try to while doing the
Yes.
thing.
Yes. Thank you so much. I mean, this is just like one issue of many pieces like this, but I just think it's so powerful how you lead by example and by courage. And eventually, the more you say, the more, I mean, it's hard to be the person leading, but also the more you lead out in front, the more you won't be alone in front anymore.
Yeah.
And then other people will go, yes, that and then it starts a tidal wave in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Of like, oh, wait, if that's okay, then what about this and this
Yeah.
is safety for me, and I get to put myself first and serve people in this way at the same time,
Yeah.
and it becomes a win-win-win,
Yeah.
right? It's all of that, but you have to push past initial resistance and culture. Like that's not how we've always done it, that kind of stuff. And eventually you'll have the right people that say yes to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. So this, I thank you. That was a great conversation. And and my first question is usually, how did you come to start your business? And we're deep in it already, but if you can just give me some of that.
Sure. Well, the short version, I will try to condense it all. I guess I almost backed into it. So I always thought I have a master's degree in stained glass conservation. I learned in museums. I always thought I was going to work in a museum. Then after my degree, well, during my degree, I realized that there were two full-time positions in the world that completely align with what I do. Um, and I had worked in both of those museums, but when those positions came up, one was in London and one was in New York, and I'd worked at those places at different times, and so I kind of came back to California looking for just any stained glass company to work for to add my services and my knowledge to that while still staying in contact with other museums. So I worked for a stained glass company for a couple of years, but still kept those contacts and on the side would do museum grade work. At a certain point, I realized I really enjoyed doing the documentation. And the pacing was a little bit better for me, so I Marie Kondoed my relationship with the studio that I was working with and left on really good terms and said thank you so much for this experience, and I'm going to give it a go and see what I can do, and if you want to hire me as a contractor, I'm happy to do that too, because that experience working in a studio was really great, seeing um, how I would want to run my business as an employee, and also how I wouldn't want to run my business as an employee. So I find, like I'm like a sponge. I'm always taking things in. And even though that was my last job where I was an employee in that capacity, I always try to think when I'm asking the Nzilani team to do anything, would I ask myself to do that? Um,
Hmm.
and so I feel like that's been really good in growing the business. So the first couple years it was just me, and then I would hire people per project for help and assistance, and the company grew slowly from that.
Nice. So you, yeah, you just kind of felt your way through what
Hmm.
was possible and what you liked, and then you said, I'm going to start this.
Yeah, yeah, and it was really daunting. I think
Yeah.
maybe after that, the I worked for that company for 3 years. And at the first year, I someone reached out for a really big project, um, and said, can you do this work? And I wasn't ready yet. In hindsight, looking at who I was, I could have been ready. I just didn't know I was ready.
Yeah.
Or all these things that this client asked, do you have $1 million insurance? Do you have all this coverage? And I was like, oh, I don't have $1 million. I didn't understand that you don't need to have $1 million to have $1 million coverage. Um,
Yes.
and so one of the things I really encourage anyone who's starting off in any kind of industry, but especially arts related, take a business class. Even if it's, a couple months, do it online if you really want to be an entrepreneur, because I feel like I was backfilling maybe for the first 10 years of not having any business experience. And it's not enough to have the idea. You have to have that core, or else that idea is going to fizzle out, or you're going to fizzle out before
Yeah.
you have everything. Um,
Yes. Yeah, DIY is overrated. That's what I did in
yeah,
my last businesses, which is why I'm a business coach now. And I say, like, I'm going to deliver everything that I wish somebody had done for me because I
yeah,
just like swam around and
hmm,
really just tried things and went, oh, whoop, whoa, okay, not that. Oh, oh.
yeah,
Here's this money. Oh, I guess that wasn't the right money. Oh, yeah, how about this? Yeah,
yeah,
it really is. It really can be easier.
yeah,
It's possible to be
yeah,
easier.
yeah.
So, yes, that's great advice.
Could be easier, right? I think there's a
Yeah.
big myth that, yeah, like you said, like DIY is super easy. Like you have the gumption and the energy, you'll do great. No, you
False
won't.
bravado again,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
it's it's a lack of self-care, and I'll say this, the other piece that comes up for my business is that $1,000 course is too expensive. I would rather bootstrap. I would, right? That's too expensive. What's expensive is you wandering around
mhm,
for your time, not sure, putting dollars where you're not sure,
yeah,
and then trying it and seeing it. And I don't mean to take away, there's always trying and seeing it. But
right.
but that there could be some, I think of them as duck pin bowling bumpers, like that kind of
Yeah, yeah,
just, yeah, you're gonna roll, but like if someone could just give you a few guides and
yeah,
then you find your own way
yeah,
within there,
yeah,
it would be worth it. Is it worth $1,000? Is it worth $5,000? How much is your time worth? How much is being profitable in your first year worth? And having low lead levels in
yeah.
your blood. All of that.
All those other classes. Yeah. And I think, again, circling back around to the whole self care part of, um, people often in interviews with me ask me, like, what could you tell your early self? And I think part of that is like, you're worth it. Um, you're worth it to cost in, the courses that you took. Like you might have to put some money into it at the very beginning, but then you're more valuable because you took that business class. And so add
Yes.
percentage up on top of like what you're, for us, I'm talking about my own experience, like your
Hmm.
hands-on experience. Um, Add in those other things.
Yeah.
You didn't just pay for those things and it goes away. That increases your value, and there should
Yes.
be monetary return on
Yes.
your value. Not like, oh, you're so good. Here's a pat on the head. I'm sorry, I can't pay my rent with that pat on the head. I can't eat off of your, clapping for me, right? I need something
Yeah.
tangible in addition to, appreciation.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think investing in yourself is something that is not always preached to people who aren't white male. I think executive coaching, it's easy to think about, oh, in that corporate space, it's oh, they have money, they can afford to do that, and that executive is going to make them more money. I don't know. I mean, at least for me, I think being a woman and a woman of color, it was not talked about that way. It wasn't modeled for me
Hmm.
that it's allowable, and in fact that we're responsible to build our own capacity that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I asked you to bring a business challenge. If there's any business challenge you're willing for us to kind of bat around, discuss here,
Oh,
partly just to demonstrate, like even veterans far along, very successful, still have new mountains to climb sometimes, or maybe
yeah,
hills. Yeah.
yeah. Um, a business challenge. Um, I think our challenge continues to be, and it's so great we had all this conversation about it beforehand, is how do we articulate our value to people who might be comparing us and they're not seeing the apples and oranges, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
that what all they see is our we don't fit into a set category. And so, are we construction? Yes. Are we artists? Yes. Are we designers? Yes. Are we fabricators? Yes. But there's no box that fits all of those things. And so when we're doing these larger projects that we're bidding, people have a really hard time understanding why we're charging what we're charging because, well, there's a studio down the street that says they can do it for, I don't know, a third amount of the price. Or, for the more construction jobs, there's, well, this glazer says at the window for X amount. How come you do it? Or you're artist, so you should be cheaper than this glazer down the street. Um, so our challenge continues to be how do we convey that clearly to our
Mm-hmm.
clients?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So as you're speaking, I'm thinking of first so many things. First of all, congratulations for breaking the box. That's you
Hey,
being a leader, right? And it is the challenge, and also first to space gets rewarded in in a different way, right? You get rewarded by being the first, the leader, doing it long and longer. There will
mm-hmm,
be others that go, oh, look what they're doing. That's how it is to be a leader, right? Oh, look what they're doing. I'm going to steal that idea. I'm going to steal that model.
right.
And we can do that too. Yes, maybe. And who cares? Because you got there first and it was your own freaking idea, right? Like it was
Yeah,
your own idea. And I got more where those come from. But besides that, I think then it is being a leader, you have to educate your clients to say this is important, which is right. We just talked all about safety,
mm-hmm,
saying this is important and this is what it means to me. And does it mean something to you? So, one of the things I was just working with the client on is how to qualify the people you do work with, and just to say because some of what you're talking about is the friction that comes from like having conversations with sort of the people who are not for you. They're not wrong or bad, but they are not for you, right? They're not people who like I know exactly what you're about and I'm totally drawn. I'm magnetically drawn to Nzilani
mm-hmm,
because of what I know about them. And they might not know 100%, but there's something where they have sensed the magic, sensed the sparkle of you, the difference. And and it's not your responsibility to get them to know, but
right.
it is your responsibility to message well, right? That's what you are in control of.
Mm-hmm.
is to message well and be clear about what is the type of client, person, board, you're dealing with many big organizations, right?
Mm-hmm.
That says yes to you. When have you had the least friction in those conversations? When they were aware of this, or they had experience with this, whatever the
Yeah.
pieces are. If you can think of when it was an easy conversation, because again, like if you are super clear, then the people already have disqualified themselves. If they're like,
Right.
why are they not cheap? Why are they not fast? Why are they not simple? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So those are some things I think of. So a questionnaire was one piece that this client was going to work on. Like even before they have, I don't know what your how to work with me um, funnel or
Right.
whatever looks like, but even to have a funnel, right? That you're not like, hi, Ariana here. How can
Right.
I help you right away? Because they don't deserve, not everybody deserves your time,
Yeah.
your attention, your phone call, your actual one-to-one. Because I know you're going to be dropping wisdom and design and guidance, and that's appropriate for the person who really is your person.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No.
So it's a little, I mean, not to be crass, but like we don't, which one is this swiping dating app? Like you don't you don't swipe on everybody,
Yeah.
you don't text everybody, and you definitely don't go on first dates with everybody, right? Like
Yeah.
like you have a filter, and I think that's obvious because there's so many people in the world. And I think so some of it again comes to, and I'm pointing to my heart to say faith in yourself, that
Yeah.
there are enough people that actually are for me in the world. And that can be challenging, right? That's like
Yeah.
mind management, that's like faith management, vision management.
Yeah. I think for us, yeah, I think we're getting much better at conveying that information to a broader group of people, like doing doing this. Um, and for me, it's really important to me because we're a project-based company. I know I'll be okay in us expanding or contracting, but I want to make sure that people who work for Nzilani are okay too, right? They choose to work for my company. They could choose to work elsewhere. And so being able to convey that information to a broad enough spectrum of people that we have projects lined up back to back, that it's sustainable for everyone and we don't have to expand and contract as much as we did in the early days, which I'm happy to say that we haven't, but there's always ways and places to improve so more people know about us um, sooner, and there's a broader catchment area.
Yes.
um, so that's what's really important, something that I'm constantly thinking about. I know there are all these amazing projects out there, and how do people find us? And we're doing a pretty good job on. I think our website is amazing. We have lots of information there about how do we get more information out? How do we make the cross connections locally? I would love to do more involvement with schools, and I'd love to have internships paid. I would much rather say, no, we don't have an internship and not have an unpaid intern than yes, we have an internship. So, finding alliances with different people, and, that all takes time. And that's time working
Mm-hmm.
on the business, not in the business, which is why I'm so
Mm-hmm.
grateful that I have a team. Even while I'm talking right now, they're working in the business to make
Yes.
everything moving forward.
Yes. Great job on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about like I love to text you pictures of stained glass art that I think is amazing, or just funny or creative.
Yeah.
And I can tell that you like nothing is new or surprising to you. So I
But
just think about,
really exciting. I love, you are not the only person where I get these texts at random times of the day from all over the world. It's not just, you know, California or the States where,
Yeah,
you know, people from all different parts of my life will say, I walked by this window and I thought of you. I hope I'm not bothering you. I'm like, you are never bothering me by sending me this an amazing window or like a horrible window. I love them
right,
equally. Like,
right.
who would do this kind of thing? Or all like it's on its last threads, you know, there's like a snaggle
Yeah,
tooth the glass 20 feet out ready to fall out, and
yeah,
take more photos. Take a photo of like where you are, and we'll write those people. And we do. We like contact people based on like someone dropping and sending it.
yes, yes.
So,
Who was the artist that I sent you last? Do you remember? It was a stained glass artist, and you already knew about him, and you just said, yeah, if only he would. It seemed like you would like to work with him.
oh yeah.
It's
Um,
okay if you don't. My point is just that do you have a list of like 10 actual ideal clients that you'd like to work with?
oh
And I'm just picking 10. I'm just saying like
yeah,
to dream for along the lines of what we just talked about. People who are the type of people, and I'm just using people. There's organizations, corporations, whatever, that would have no friction in saying
yeah,
yes to all the specialness that you offer, where
yeah.
now they're just this or just this or just this.
I so I'm this my thought process is people who have, and the person who popped into my head immediately is someone who's local. So shout out to Oakland.
Yeah.
Jet Martinez, who is a muralist. Do you know him?
Oh, no, I'd
He's a,
love to.
you do. You probably just don't know his name. He does like
Yeah.
the lilies that are downtown, like
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Hmm.
So I was lucky enough to have a conversation with him a couple years ago, and we just vibed off of each other. I would love the opportunity to work with him in some public art. Uh, you know, his art is amazing. His social justice and conscious of the work of art he's doing, who it's for, who he does it with. Um, just an amazing human being, and also like you know this, we're both Oaklanders. Like I feel like Oakland artists are super passionate, right? Like and a lot of people who live in Oakland as well, just an Oakland residents. There's this thing where we're just we really love our city a lot, and so
Yeah.
I would love to start from the core and go out. Um,
Mm.
so something like that would work with. Also, shout out to my first employee, who is the studio head of Nzilani and also an amazing artist in her own right, Armel LaRue, who you've met.
I got to meet her. Yes. Amazing.
Um, I would love to continue to have more opportunities to work with her, not just as Nzilani, but alongside her. Like her visions are amazing. Love larger projects, and then you know all of the artists at Nzilani, um, they're pretty amazing too. So um, yeah, having the opportunity to do more new work would be really great. We
Mm.
have all these skill sets, being able to match old old techniques. We also that means we can sort of move around in that space and use the old techniques in new ways, which I think is
Yeah.
really exciting.
Yeah.
Um, and to totally geek out, when I was doing my degree show um, at the Royal College of Art, um, I almost went a completely different direction where I was doing a more philosophical way of assessing things, talking about there was this corollary with stained glass as moving image, like was the first moving image. Because I grew up in Southern California, and for a minute wanted to be a cinematographer, but it's pretty much the same thing, right? You're trying to harness light,
Light.
and
Yes.
it's intangible. So what do you do besides that? Okay, filter it through glass that you can affect, right? So
Yeah.
first they did it with glass in churches, untold stories where people were
Yes.
alone. Now we're telling stories through, first it was film, and now it's video, which becomes ephemeral again. But um, some sort of crossover with moving image would be really exciting too. So I don't know about individual people, but that idea, the crossover of ideas, and
Mm-hmm.
artists, intersect architecture, storytelling, tangible and intangible, and philosophical spaces is really exciting.
Yes. And so impactful too. I'm hearing not just art for pretty, but art as a statement or making culture, right?
Yeah,
Making ideas that seem this is back to leadership actually, right? Moving the message forward,
yeah,
right? Yeah, that's
or reflecting, right? So one of my degree undergrad was a self-portrait colored art glass, and half of the pieces um, were mirrored because I wanted to have like how people perceive me. Part of it is that you're you're looking, well, okay, so here's the piece, right? So you look at it, and part of it you see through different colors and your own perceptions, and then there's the mirror part which reflects back at you. So how do you interact with a person? There's all these different layers, and it's not just linear, right?
yes.
I, I, wow.
So in some ways, I'm hearing art and all the way, I'm kind of backing out to from, and I'm sorry, we've gone way over, but thank you for hanging in.
I
Um,
told you we would not keep to our time.
I know, there's too much goodness here.
Yeah,
Um, art backing up into art as business and business art. I mean, or the aspects, right, of who will pay you to do art and how that's a conundrum in our society,
yeah,
how art gets valued, but there is more and more what's the word? Just as you talked about culture changing as far as self-care and earth care, there's also corporations saying, "Oh, art makes us look good, right? So maybe maybe this will be
yeah.
something I can pay for in my lobby."
Right,
I
right.
follow some art what's the word? Art curators, and consultants who, one of their income places is uh, make this lobby reflect us, right? Who
Yeah,
our benevolence or whatever it is. I'm being a little
yeah,
skeptical, but yeah, that could be a place where you're looking for the business side at least, art
right,
plus
right.
revenue, or
And
at least funding the
yeah,
project.
again, we've pursued that in a few ways, and one of those things is us being the square trying to fit into a circle, right? So often those larger projects, it's an artist who has some history with public art, and they have a vision of what they want to have, but they can't fabricate it, right? So we've moved forward and said, oh, we have the capacity to both envision it, and we'll keep costs down because we can fabricate it as well. But who makes your stuff? We do. But who has the vision? We have it. And so, yeah,
Nice.
it's been really interesting that the problem is as you scale up into these larger commercial projects, the challenge is that there's so many layers, often of bureaucracy, that the person that you talk to at the beginning isn't the person who's signing the contract. And so if you don't fit into their boilerplate, they don't want to do the work to fit. And we'll do the work to like fill out two contracts or whatever. But
Hmm.
if you're not the visionary, if you happen to be the visionary and the fabricator, it's like they don't know what to do with that. Very strange.
Tiny, tiny, tiny little minds.
Yeah,
Break it open. Break
yeah.
open the boxes.
Think about, like, if you're thinking purely business wise, which I love the business side of my business, you would think if it's all in one box, that's
Simpler.
to the front of the queue, because it's like you're dealing with one company. You don't have to like do things, and the timeline is the same because the person who has the idea um, is also the person you're paying to make it. And so, if it's on time, it's great. And the other thing is, the person who has the idea actually knows that the idea can manifest into a tangible object rather
Right.
than, I have this idea that I want to do this and this and this. And you're like, well, until we break the fourth dimension, that idea just isn't going to happen, right?
Yes.
Not going to
Yes. Well,
happen.
I was in architecture before, right? So all the time it was like the charismatic architect draws this really evocative sketch on a cocktail napkin, so to
Right.
speak,
Yeah.
and then it's handed off to others of
Right.
us who were like, make it real. And
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it was like, I don't even know what plane is what and like how
Yeah.
do these things come together.
Right.
So yeah, I mean the parallel is that you're design build,
Yeah.
right? And that should be exciting and streamlined and it's kind of the dream,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So maybe circling back around to, like, how do we make ourselves better? Uh, the marketability of having everything one stop shop, which we are, and just
Yeah.
find language that speaks to those different organs.
I just thought of as you were talking about as I was picturing the corporate lobby,
Mhm.
public art, but like corporate lobby, one gigantic panel is you, right? Is
Yeah.
dedicated to you. I'm putting together with what I just heard from an architect friend who said everyone is the lead time on residential windows is ridiculous right now.
Mhm.
So then you could be the window company, right? Like in a sense, you're like, I provide windows, and guess what? It's gonna be art and it's gonna blow your mind,
Yeah.
right? It's just a different kind of window. And really, who's to say you're not a window company in a
Right.
different, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
know you're more than a window company, but even that, like if that's got friction that you can now fill, right?
Yeah.
So even, a lobby would be aluminum storefront window systems,
Hmm.
and you're the one to glaze it, right? But like way beyond.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just
Have that, a little, shout out, just in case people wonder. I also have a C17 California glazing license. So I am the company
yeah,
is window company at its core.
window.
Yes,
Yeah,
window, and yeah, window, right? Like we have to
yeah,
all those standards as well. And um yeah, it's window and window plus.
right, right. So I just wonder about all those homeowners, high-end custom home owners or architects who are like, I just need a window. Where can I find a window? Right? Like, and you're like, I can custom build this for you.
Yeah,
And really, they are, if it's price, it's not about price right now, right? It's supply chain, blah, 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 that we've heard so much about. There's no price where they can overcome the supply chain issue. And here you are in West Oakland, right?
right.
Like, here, look,
Yeah,
look what I can make you, soup to nuts,
yeah,
right?
right.
So,
Yeah, we had a little run for a little bit, mid 2021, where we did three houses in one block in Piedmont, because
because
for simple, for us, simple windows. One person got them done. Oh, you do that? Well, what about ours? I'm like, yeah. So it's really pretty when diamond windows, are all out of plane and they reflect the light different ways. But that also means that they're starting to fail. And then
yeah,
unfortunately, also that stay at home correlated to some of the fires that we had, and one person didn't realize how bad their windows were until the smoke was coming in through the windows, and the window wasn't acting as a window anymore because there were so many light leaks and holes that
Yes.
it was
It
just,
was a screen.
yeah, it was infiltrating
Yeah.
their home. So yeah, we do have,
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, I hope that little bit was helpful. I just like
Yeah.
seeing how people see you, right? And that is something you're in control of in the sense of your messaging, right? You putting out, here's what I want, and to be as clear as you can, putting it in your Instagram or wherever you talk,
Yeah.
and just see what you can get, because
Yeah.
this is something that I've learned for myself as I grow my business and my clients too, is like if you want something, you have to ask for it
Yeah.
and be super clear. And sometimes that's the place where it comes up against your like courage or
Yeah.
fear, the like, oh, am I really ready for this?
Right.
And that's the place where we get to grow.
Yeah. I'm ready for all of it. Bring it
You
on.
are. You are. That's why I love talking with you. All the years that you're a customer at Ruby's Garden, I
Yeah.
was just loving. There were just so few business owner, operator, really like hands-on people I could talk with, and I just always loved talking with you. I learned so much from you.
Oh, and right back at you. I felt like I, with an extra bonus, right? I could get really cool kids' clothes and and then I could talk to someone who really knew what I was talking about. And I think
Yeah.
there's so few, often you don't know who to talk to or what to talk to, or like what organizations you can go to find similar people with whom you can speak. And
Yeah.
um, I continue to be and was so grateful to have those little spots of the confluence of parenting and running businesses and bouncing ideas
Yeah.
off of.
Yes. Well, I mean, those conversations led to what I'm doing now, right?
Yeah,
That's why I was like, some of my favorite spaces in Ruby's Garden were those conversations that
yeah,
I had with you and also with moms, where in a way, I said I was like career coaching moms because it's such a dizzying transition.
yeah.
Yeah. And then my vendors too. So you
Right.
were all part of the wind beneath my wings.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep meeting up because we just need to connect. It's so important, right? Even just a witness that's like, this is what it's like to lead a business.
Yeah. It's not all, it's not what you know, I don't know,
Yeah.
home network, at least within our profession. But it's so much more and it's so worth it, I think.
Yes.
So
Yes. It's worth it when it's worth it, right? When you really feel like heart connection.
yeah,
People are really rooting for you, really hearing you, and
yeah,
it's safe to be all the way you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the kind of spaces I'm hoping to create in the next little bit. I actually just put out a little message about something like entrepreneur work party under the disco ball. I'm working on the language, but my point is that we need to just like hear each other and hear ourselves,
Hmm.
witnessed by each other, people who understand us, and carve out some time to do that, and also like cut loose a little bit too, take
Huh.
ourselves less seriously. I personally need a little bit of like, it's okay to be me
Hmm.
playtime in the midst
Yeah,
of all of that.
sounds good.
So,
Sign me
yes.
up.
Yes, please come. April 24th, right now. Sunday, April 24th is garden party. So outside,
Nice.
in my front yard.
Cool.
So
I'll be
that's
there.
what I'm hoping for. Oh my gosh, that's an hour. Woo, that was a record. Thank you so much for being with me here.
You're welcome.
And
Thank
I just really, really appreciate it.
you. Yeah. Sure. Well, always lovely to talk with you. I'm sure I'll talk with you not before April 24th. Now I know I'll talk to you on April 24th.
Talk to me April 24th. And universe, send artists and the right clients to
Yes.
Nzilani Glass.
Yes, we're here. We're ready. We're all
Ready.
busy now, so call us now so we can get it in the queue.
It's a perfect time.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
It was awesome.
Bye. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Bye.